And we're live. And, you know, part of what I always try to do is look confused because someone says, Tom, every time you go live, you look confused. I'm like, yes, I've only done this now 454 times, plus a few live Saturdays. So, yes, and I'm still confused when this happens. And I think, Jeff, are you confused sometimes when this happens?
I'm always confused when it happens. And I always love to say on my show, we are nothing if not a professional stream. We are a well-oiled machine that gets it right at least 10% of the time.
Yeah. Somewhere around there. And this works out great. So I had messaged Jeff earlier, said, hey, do you want to do vlog Thursday? I'm doing it late because I went to bike night in Detroit and I was trying to finish things before I went to bike night. It gets dark earlier because, it's that time of year.
Yeah.
So I had want to get all these things done, start the stream at 9. And that works out better for Jeff because he's on the other coast.
Yeah.
So different time, a few time zones away.
Yeah. You're kind of crazy starting a stream at 9 p.m. I mean, that's what I do, but we call it 6.
Yeah.
So
it's 6 p.m. in your time.
Right.
Yeah, time zones are weird. I don't mind the late night stuff. I'm usually just watching YouTube. Well, now I'm producing YouTube, so that's all right.
That's true. Yeah, we used to stream at 8 o'clock. We did kick it back to 6 just to make it a little bit more palatable for the East Coast people. But yeah, no, I don't mind a late stream at all.
No, and for anyone that doesn't know, this is Jeff from Craft Computing. Just so we have some proper intro in the first couple minutes of this. But kind of the topic I was going to at least bring up a bit was one, why is Tom standing next to Deadmau5?
Right.
And only by coincidence, Jeff is not standing by Deadmau5, but he was there.
I was standing right next to Wendell
yes.
during that photo. So I'm just off camera.
He's just off camera on that one because me and Jeff both, and of course, Wendell and Deadmau5 were at the 45 Drives Creator Summit. And it was a great time for sure. And me and Jeff, we went to a speakeasy. So we ended it on a good note.
Yes.
Probably not for Jeff's sleep pattern because he had to get up early and fly back.
I was fine. I don't know what you're talking about.
You just sleep on the plane.
I slept on the plane. And in fact, so flew American, which is awful for leg room. If you're tall, you know that American's like the worst draw you can get. I had to fly to Dallas and then back to Portland. And the flight to Dallas, I was cramped. I was tired. It was like a 4:45 takeoff or something like that. And everything hurt. And so as soon as we landed in Dallas, I went, all right, what's a good seat upgrade? And I paid $75 and I got an exit row. And this exit row was the one where it's a row of seats and then a door and no row in front of you. And then a bathroom in front of that. And so I'm like, okay, cool. I'll have room to stretch out my legs. I got the row to myself. And so nice. I could get up and walk around. It was great.
Something you don't learn until you meet people in person. You don't notice this on YouTube and you realize the height of people. And Jeff is tall. So
I am 6'4". Yeah.
Yeah. So it's one of those things. When you're young, you think it'd be cool to be tall, but then you realize everything's inconvenient. So
yeah. When you're short, everything is inconvenient too. The world is built around people who are around 5'8". Yep. And so there are advantages and privilege that I have with the height. Like Steve Hofstetter once said, to me, an overhead bin isn't an overhead bin. It's just a bin.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I pick my bags up and put them in the bin at eye level. Like that's not a big deal. I can reach things on the top shelf of grocery stores. But I don't fit on planes. I have to duck walking through doorways sometimes. Like there's a lot of things that are very inconvenient about the size.
Not as convenient. So, I don't know, have kind of back to the 45 Drives topic. Mm-hmm. First, Deadmau5 being there. Let's just cover that. So it's in the beginning here for people wondering, because I seen someone said in the comments here, not on my bingo card to see Deadmau5 with Tom. I think that was the first comment.
Yeah.
So 45 Drives unveiled their new silent server, and it is built with fancy heat pipes and everything else. So maybe they'll send me one. I don't know, like to review and send it back. Either way, they got pictures of it. We talked about it. Mm-hmm. The idea is to build something for creators that want a silent but really fast server. So that was talked about in the live stream that 45 Drives did. You can find it on their channel. And what they do at the Creator Summit is they bring the creators and they bring some of the people who use 45 Drives, which happens to include Deadmau5, by the way. If you didn't know, he's a 45 Drives customer.
Yes.
and he's a super nerd. So talking about his 800 gig, 800 gig network he has, right down to the drivers he has for which Mellanox cards he uses. Like, you can ask that guy some really deep questions, and he knows the answer. But you go one question too far, he goes, "I'm not a nerd," which I love that answer.
Yeah. That guy is to I like network engineers and like people like us. He is that guy who knows just enough to be absolutely dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He knows exactly what he needs to know because it accomplishes the goal.
Yes.
And so he's his answer, like, and it's also in the live stream. It really made me chuckle when he was talking about moving to 45 drives, because he goes, used to store things on single computers, but single computers can die. They can die randomly. They can die due to fits of rage. That's a thing that happens sometimes.
Yeah.
So he's a 45 drives customer. 45 drives builds a silent server. It's just kind of a convergence of things, us going out there to the Creator Summit, where we as creators, me and Jeff, and sometimes people who are, and it's more than just Dead Mouse. There's actually some really cool people there. Me and Jeff made a new friend. He's a photographer. What's the title of his project? Joseph is
the New York City 30-year time lapse.
The New York City 30-year time lapse. And he's just an artist / photographer who had this idea that says, I want to take a picture every day of the New York City skyline for 30 years. Turns out eventually you run out of storage and you need to buy some boxes. But, so you have the people who are using things and the people who are creating things and some problem solvers, and they got us all together. And it's just a fun thing. I'm going to do a dedicated video of kind of what we talked about. I'm going to create a separate video for my migration and coming down from the cloud. I don't know. Are you going to create some separate dedicated content for that? I didn't know if you created it yet.
I was actually working on that today. So part of what we do as creators there is they actually call us there to give a talk on subjects that we know about. And this year it was a little bit more slanted away from the tech and a little bit more towards the artistry that is being created with 45 drive servers. I kind of liked that opportunity because obviously I'm very much a tech guy, worked in the field for almost 20 years now. But also am kind of an artist. I also do a lot of video projects, obviously. And but we give talks on various subjects. And this time my talk was, how do I manage my storage? Hundreds upon hundreds of terabytes of storage that I generate per year. How do I manage it, back it up, make it accessible, and ensure that I can continue to create videos?
And I want to watch that video because they did something a little different here in 45 drives. They did a 2 tracks. They had like what they refer to as enterprise, and I don't think they really called yours home. What
they called it creator.
Yeah. So yours was more dedicated to the creator side, but I'm equally interested in both. I mean, I like that they did it the way they did it. It wasn't terrible or anything, but it was like, I felt like I was missing out.
Yeah.
Me and you spoke at the same time.
Right. Yeah. We spoke at the same time. No, I did get to sneak in and see you.
Okay.
You spoke right after my time was up.
Okay.
But I did skip one of the creator talks. And I snuck over and saw you. And then I didn't get to see Wendell's talk. That was the one that I missed.
Wendell's was fun.
Yeah.
When, Mr. I'm not going to get too technical. Here's an entire PCB board I designed, by the way. So we're both going to create some content around it.
Wendell and his hobbies.
Wendell's like, I just designed a PCB board because people aren't making things right. So I have to solve some plumbing issues on these systems. But I'll let Wendell speak to that at a later date when it comes out. One of the things that Jeff has also done, and this came out because you were at the Creator Summit last year as well, is Jeff helped 45 drives, and we both worked on this, different angles. 45 drives takes the time to really listen and think about the community. I've helped advise them on some of the MSP stuff. Jeff has helped with the HL15 and HL8. You gave him a lot of tips and pointers for things that could, make it more aligned. And Jeff's got videos from last year from all of that as well. So the
Beerinator, you can't forget the Beerinator. It's
we can't forget the Beerinator.
Yeah, come on.
Yes, I like that there's a Beerinator in Wilmington. So it's in Wilmington, North Carolina. There's a Beerinator there, which it is the OG one because it is the Peltier cooler one, not the
mine's Peltier as well.
Oh, is it?
So yeah, they're all Peltier. The original Beerinator, I guess, was a welded shut chassis that they filled with ice. And I
Got it.
actually, when I did the video earlier this year on the Beerinator, I found the original footage that they had used like a
Yeah.
decade ago.
Yeah, it's really old.
Yeah, I managed to find this random channel on YouTube that had interviewed Doug Milburn, the co-founder of 45 Drives, and he showed off the Beerinator in their office. And 45 Drives didn't even know that video existed, and I managed to dig it up. And they're like, "Oh, it's cool, it's right there." So that was fun. But yeah, 220 watt Peltier cooler, just enough to keep your beer at like 42. Like it's not going to super chill it, but it's plenty to make it nice and cold.
Why does his background look like his final flooring? Actually, that's snapped together, isn't it?
It's snapped together. Yeah, it's engineered. Okay,
it's engineered. I remember your build video years ago. Before I met you, I watched it. So when you built a new studio, I think it's around the time I reached out to you. So.
Yeah, I think that's about the time we first started talking. Was right around early 2020 is when that I did this.
Yeah, it's fun because I'm in. Me and Jay from Learn Linux TV, we had this idea to start a Discord group of fellow YouTubers, and we started just putting the Jeffs. We have a Jeff Kierling and a Jeff from Craft Computing. We started putting this together, but it's still so much nicer when we get to meet in person and actually go somewhere and just have a more in-depth conversation, because we chat with each other and even wondering if there's like communication between like Wendell, Tom, and Jeff and about a half dozen other YouTubers.
Yes, Tim,
may or may not
exist. Yeah, we're all in one big private Discord. I've had multiple people ask to join it, and it's like, no, that is for us to complain about you all. Not that we do, but it's there.
There may or may not exist a subgroup of this that shares comments, because some of y'all leave some stuff on our comments.
I think the most posted in channel is it's called Today in Comments, and it's just a page that we can post YouTube comments that we receive and discuss them.
Yes, there's a commonality, because they're like there are people who visit our channels collectively to leave absurdity. So,
I'm not going to mention
their name because I don't want to encourage them.
Yeah, I'm not going to mention any specifics, but there's a couple users who will bounce around all of our channels, and there's a couple people on our Discord who brag that person hasn't discovered their channel yet, and it's almost like they got me, like zombie apocalypse, when they finally discover that YouTuber's channel and start leaving comments.
Yep. I was seeing a question I will answer. So have you got the new Ubiquiti NAS yet? Yes and no. There's a shipping problem. I know there's some videos that got released. Mine got lost for the dumbest reason possible. And so I don't know exactly how this works when the UPS store, so when we closed my building in Detroit, I had to move to the UPS store. And so they keep shipping things to the wrong building. And I closed that building in February and I moved all my address, but for reasons that can't be quite explained other than they hired a new guy at the UPS store. And I think the new people are nice and they learned a lesson. Tom gets a lot of stuff shipped to his old store. He redirects to the new place. And then I remind whoever's shipping me things, hey, stop shipping it to the old building. It's part of when you sign up for the UPS store, you get unlimited redirects, which is kind of cool. If I get the tracking number, I can redirect it. Back to the topic at hand. I redirected the package knowing they sent it to my old building. My old building is like blocks away from my house. So I just go pull the stickers off the building every time they're there because no one's occupying it right now.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, it came in and it said Tom Lawrence and it said Lawrence Systems, but they said, it has the wrong address. So they decided to return it to sender. Now it came from overseas. So now it's stuck in customs limbo.
Yeah.
We don't know what happened to my NAS. At least no one seems to know what happened to NAS. Certainly not me. And the UPS store apologized. I told them good news is because they said, we just realized we sent back an international package and it kind of puts it in a limbo. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know when I'll get it. If I'll get it, it may live in customs the rest of its life. I'll buy another one.
Yeah.
Not a huge deal. But the second question that someone had asked me, I don't know if you have looked, Jeff, at the Unifi NAS. I think they're pretty neat. I think I did a review of the original one they released. I still am using it. Mm-hmm. I like the fact the biggest feature it has is 7 drives, 10 gig internet, $499.
Right.
Or 10 gig network. I don't know why I said internet. Sorry. Someone can be pedantic and correct me here. It doesn't have an internet connection, Tom. It is a network connection. Fine. But
why do you need 10 gig? I can only get 1 gig internet here.
Yeah. But we have a 10 gig connector and 7 drives fit in it for $499.
Mhm.
That's a great deal for a new box. There's always that person who goes, but I can build a used one for that. I'm sure you can.
Sure you can.
But this is a new box. Now, of course, there are sacrifices that have been made. First, it's not going to run ZFS. It runs ButterFS. Second, it uses MD ADM RAID. It doesn't have caching. And it's just a NAS. People are like, where's my Docker? I'm like, did you see the memory on this box?
Yeah.
It is a low-powered ARM chip. I'm sorry, Docker has left the building. We are not running Plex on this.
The purpose of this NAS is, do you want files on the network? Give me some hard drives. Here are your files.
And I think there's enough, like, why compete with your NAS? It's not a target for them. And generally speaking, it's going to cost you more in hardware. Even if you go used, if you want something that performs decently, that you can load Jellyfin, Plex, or your favorite media tools on, which then stacks up to about 10 other tools, because once you load one tool, you go, well, I can actually pull some torrents because I got to see these ISOs and feed all this stuff on here and build it all out.
All those Linux ISOs add up, man.
All those Linux ISOs add up. And I think that's great for people who want to run a media server, but I don't think that's the target audience. Ubiquiti says, hey, we can niche into this. You know, it's the same box as their UNVR. So they just repurpose the same box, same drives, same chip. The only thing different, the software. It's actually, because we opened it up when I did the review, we were like, yeah, this is a UNVR. There's nothing different about it. I mean, you know it from the outside, but when you open it up, you're like, yep, the only thing different is the firmware. End of story. Same chip, same processor. And I think that's kind of a good idea because some people want an NAS. And I've been using it they have like a file sharing where you can upload it and do like the share link, and it relays off a Unifi. So just like Synology has a Synology share, you don't have to open up any ports or anything like that. So I've been using it now for about 6 months, and I'm like, this just works. It's dead simple. And I think that's what the beauty of it is. It's inexpensive. It's dead simple. It doesn't run Plex. It doesn't have a bunch of app problems, because if you want to go to the most angry group of people, it is every time TrueNAS makes a small change to the back end or any change to the back end and an app explodes and
it breaks that Plex container or your Home Assistant or whatever else. Yeah.
So it's like that, and that's fine. And then other people are like, but Unraid exists. I'm like, yes, Unraid exists. There's enough ecosystem in that market. Just Unifi is like, yeah, we're just going to build something kind of leaning towards people goes, I just want to share a file. End of story.
I wish more companies realized that. I mean, specifically like automakers, like, you know, we're talking about GM is under fire right now because they're removing like CarPlay and Android Auto from their vehicles. And they're like, no, you can use our navigation system and subscribe to OnStar to get 5G connectivity to your car with a Wi-Fi hotspot. And it's only going to be like $35 a month and everything. I'm like, we all have phones. Please just let us use these, because they're a million times better at UI design than you could ever dream to be on the Chevy Equinox. Okay.
Exactly. And because the interfaces are terrible in a lot of these vehicles. Just give me the CarPlay thing and I'm happy. Like, because I don't need something else. Yeah,
but there's so many tech companies that go down that path as well of like, well, we have all this hardware. Let's create solutions for every single niche that possibly exists. But the problem is a lot of companies end up spreading themselves too thin. And even though the hardware is good, the software ends up being junk, or vice versa. They use really good software, but then they put out like an N100 powered NAS that you're supposed to be able to run like 12 Docker containers and everything else. And it just doesn't work. So
yeah,
I like this approach. You want storage on your network? Here's some storage on your network.
Yeah.
Done.
And that price point, 10 gig,
$500,
$499.
Yeah.
That's a good feature.
Yeah.
Oh, also it's SIP's power. It's, it's ARM, it's low wattage. Like there's no complaints there. I will answer this question really quickly. Have either of you tried the new self-hosted Unifi OS? Yes and no. My friend Mike at Railstream has been trying it. So far, no issues. It transfers easy. Chris from Crosstalk, also a friend of ours, he's done a couple of videos on how to set it up. I just haven't really played with it much. I played with it vicariously through my friend Mike's Railstream setup. So it works. It's fine. I think it's still in beta, but go ahead and play with it. Now, this one. Let me go grab something, and I want to see if Jeff has done this yet, because I have not.
Oh, interesting. I will say, to answer the question also on the Unifi OS, I have not tried the new Unifi OS self-hosted, but I've actually got a project in mind where I will be setting that up probably in the next couple of weeks. I don't know if I'll make a video, but I'll probably have a more well-rounded opinion of it. So.
Yeah, I don't manage the stuff at CNWR because they have not moved to it, and they don't seem to plan to. They're I don't know. That's a whole different topic, but I don't think they're switching to it. But did you put the filter in yours for the 45 Drives HL15?
Mine arrived. I haven't put it in yet, but I desperately need to because mine's out in my garage. And
so you have exactly the same as me. It has arrived.
Yeah.
Once again, they shipped this to the wrong address too. So 45 Drives has been corrected. I told them my new address, but I think someone just said, I don't know, whatever.
You know how it is. Once it's in a computer, that's who you are.
It's really hard to get it out of the computer.
It's an act of God sometimes to change a customer record.
But this is one of the beauties, and I'll do a video on this. This is one of the beauties, I think, of 45 Drives. And people didn't like this answer. Wendell touched on it in his review, and I think you did too. Like, you buy this and it's changeable, upgradable, customizable. And I think that's what makes it really cool, because now I've had this for a minute, and I think because I had it before even the Creators Summit, the first one I went to. So
yeah,
I swapped things. I've actually upgraded. I did not like the noise it made. I was thrilled when they sent me the Noctua fans. I was like, oh, this improved. It was the loudest thing in my rack, because nothing in my rack's particularly loud that I have right now.
Yeah.
And because I put Noctua, all the other custom built servers are Noctua. And now, cool, I got filtering. I don't need it as bad. They just sent it to me. They didn't even ask me if I wanted it. They just
they just sent me one as well. Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, we're going to mail you one time because you need it. I'm like, cool. I have a very dust-free environment. For anyone that watched my rack and studio build video, you'll realize I have a new studio, new house that was only built a couple years ago, and this is all in a new area on the other side of this wall, so it's not much dust in there or anything like that. But the filter's nice.
Mine is by my back door in my garage. I have two golden doodle dogs that are about a year old. They are 45-ish pound dogs with very long hair. The dust outside is like fire runoff ash, like it's that super silty high desert kind of soil that if it's dry at all will just cake to them, and then they walk inside and they shake and it creates a dust cloud inside. That's directly outside my back door. And so I actually blew out my Storinator, my AV15 about 2 months ago, and the cloud that came out of that thing was of epic proportions.
Yeah.
It was bad. It's one of the worst ones I've ever done. I'm gonna put me on a dust filter here pretty soon.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Unifi has MDDM plus ButterFS. What is the Synology? So yes, that's how Synology works. And I've talked to Synology engineers because we've been a Synology seller for a long time. And that is what works. So ButterFS is a lesser version of ZFS. It is a copy on write file system.
Yes.
It got as far as it did, but it didn't get all the way. So ZFS talks directly to the drives. ButterFS can. I don't recommend it.
It doesn't.
No. Yeah. I mean, is it in the functionality of ButterFS?
Right.
But is it in your best interest? Those are very different answers.
Yeah.
So anyone who runs these knows your standard Linux RAID works fine for the drives. You load ButterFS as a file system on top of it. And what this gives you is some of those snapshot features, some of those recovery features that copy on write. It's a good setup, and it's a little bit less intensive. And I think it's just better for ARM. ZFS on ARM is not, I think it's getting better, but it's not where it could be.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're especially right there with specifically like low power NAS devices, especially ARM or even like N100 style devices, is to run ZFS effectively with more than like a pair of drives, you really do need about 8 gigabytes of memory. And a lot of the ARM powered ones are only coming with 4 gigs.
Yep.
And it's not that intensive of a process, but it does require a little bit of CPU, and yeah, ButterFS seems to be slightly more efficient on that end. And I would have said up until, a couple of maybe 6 months ago that ButterFS was better for some situations. If you were doing more of a JBOD situation where you're like, oh, I'm just going to like plug random disks in, like you used to do with Unraid. But ZFS recently got that functionality where you can drop a new drive in and expand. And so now my opinion is if you have the hardware, do ZFS. It's a better file system, but Butter's still there. So
yeah, ZFS expansion changed the game, and I kind of want to redo a couple of my old videos. Now, the good news is because I know and keep up with people in the ZFS world, which by the way, Alan Jude was also at the Creator Summit, and me and Alan Jude are working on a video because he had a really interesting topic that you actually had a few of them. And so we're going to break out some videos, me and Alan Jude, to talk about like how ZFS works with NVMe, what works, what doesn't work, and what the challenges are. It's really nuanced. It's one of those things where I've heard a lot of people say ZFS doesn't work on NVMe. After Alan's talk, that's completely not true. But ZFS is not as optimized as it could be, but not as optimized as it could be doesn't mean it doesn't work really well with NVMe. So it's one of those things like they know the engineering problem that exists and they know where they need to go with it. It's really interesting what that engineering problem is and how it can be solved. But by the way, you can use NVMe all day. It works perfectly fine. It will be very, very fast.
Yes.
But the too long didn't watch yet is going to be, it could be extremely fast. It could be way more efficient. But even with its inefficiencies and misalignment, if you will, to the design of NVMe, it's still really good. So there's no reason not to use it. There's just not, it's going to get better. So, well, as soon as someone throws money at engineers, because we love open source, but engineers, turns out they have to eat pizza and drink coffee, and that's not free.
Right.
Oh man. I really want to do we have, so the too long problem. We can go into detail about this at a later date, maybe. Oh, honeypots are either, have you ever heard of Teapot Honeypot? I don't know. It's really cool. It's
is that the container that you can download that has like the top 500 most requested or something like that?
Yeah, it's a huge document.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay.
It's really cool. It's actually called the Teapot because it is run by T-Mobile. It's a big open source project T-Mobile has. Okay. And I've had friends that run this. It is a huge, big project. It's kind of cool, but it's not easy to set up. So there's your big one. We were looking at a handful of smaller ones, but boy, they're not good. So when we tried setting them up, we're like, this sounded easy on the GitHub. This sounded like it was just a Docker container. Because there's one of them. There's one in particular that I think is really cool. I got to look at where the project is and see if they fixed the bugs. We found some problems, and I believe Matt was finding them. But it's a tool that is a honeypot that connects to either, and I don't recommend connecting it to ChatGPT, but you can. It has API control, but you can connect it to a locally hosted one because what it does is go through lots of simulations to bring them further in. So the AI does what it can to make them think they're getting further. It simulates the environment with AI, so they keep thinking they're in an environment.
So it's like, oh, you got through another layer of passwords.
Yes. So yeah, if that one we can get working, it has just such an intriguing
this
thing
SSH server can only tell the truth. This one can only tell a lie.
Yes. It's a fun project. So yeah, it's definitely my goal to do that. I think it's a great idea. I want to have some fun with it, but unfortunately, the ones we tried, it sounded easy, like just run this project and it'll work. But we found it not to work. That's why the video didn't get made. Sometimes that's where things fall apart. Is I try to set it up, I try to use it. My easiest videos are like the one I'll release tomorrow. It's something I do. It's setting up the policy engine inside of Unifi. I did a whole video on it. And it doesn't take me long to do a video because I'm just showing you what I do. Same thing with my TrueNAS videos. I set these up for customers. I'm basically showing you what I set up for a customer. So there's very little thought Tom has to have because I already know this is a deployed workable solution. So all I'm doing is running through the playbook that I built for some client to solve a problem. You have no idea how they will optimize for NVMe. Good news is I don't either, but Alan Jude does. He knows exactly what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Because he manages the team that writes the code.
Yep.
So he has a very detailed plan of exactly what they need to do. By the way, Alan Jude is where fast dedupe came from. We're going to do a video about that. That's a new feature. There's also, it's not B-tree, because B-tree is a part of a file system, but it's something like that. We have a few different topics that you can, by the way, you can read about these on Clara's system. Some of these have already been covered, but it was specifically about his presentation. And I told Alan, just come on my channel. I love what you did. He's already got the presentation done. We're just going to run through it. So it'll be definitely a lot of fun.
Yeah.
If you pipe data in and out of a system at line speed out the NIC with NVMe like latencies, that's all that matters. It's a lot more complicated than that, as Jeff learned when he set up a 100 gig network. What was the problems you ran into, Jeff, with a 100 gig network?
I ran into a number of problems. Linux, for the most part, just kind of worked. Although the problem is, brief overview, I have a TrueNAS server and a backup TrueNAS server in my network. Both have 100 gig next to them, goes to a 100 gig switch. That 100 gig switch has a fiber line that runs to my office. And then that 100 gig switch that's in my office has 2 lines that come out to each of my workstations. It's stupid. Don't do it. I have Linux on one and Windows on the other. And the Linux one does get better speed than the Windows machine. But as Wendell will tell you, Microsoft engineers, when they're working on SMB and writing the code for network sharing within Windows, they typically will optimize to whatever NICs the engineers have at the time. And many, many years ago, it was 10 gig. And so if you put a 25 gig NIC into a workstation and then tried to do it, it would start crapping the bed at like 14 gig, and no one could figure it out. And it was like, oh, there's this overhead process that's running that doesn't need to be, or needs to be optimized. Okay, cool. We got line rate at 25 now. The problem is right now, Windows craps out about 30 because they optimized to a certain point, and then they went, okay, that's good.
Yeah, that's good enough.
Right. And so if you plug a 100 gig NIC into a Windows workstation, you'll get 30 gig. And that's where it stops. I do run an NVMe array inside of ZFS in my TrueNAS server. That's the working directory, the project directory that I have all of my video files in. And the main reason for that is when I'm doing scrubbing for video editing, is that random access on NVMe. It means I can edit 4K footage basically like butter. It's as fast as local. Because it's not the throughput that really matters for that. It's the latency and the access. That's actually what my video of my that's what my talk was about at 45 Drives, and that's what my video is going to be about, is walking you through my whole process of that. Long story short, 10 or 100 gig networking works in line rate sequential speeds between NASs. It does not improve your latency. In fact, it hurts your latency in most situations. And so if you're using like network storage for VMware or Proxmox drives or something like that, you'll actually get dramatically worse performance over 100 gig than if you just went 10 or 25. And on Windows, it's absolute garbage.
RDMA or SMB direct? I'm assuming SMB, right?
SMB direct, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the a lot of challenges in there. And I get this comment. This is a discussion. I'm going to probably bring on the people from 45 Drives. I've done the Ceph training course with 45 Drives. Mitch is amazing at it. He's definitely one of the Ceph experts out there. They speak at many conferences, the team at 45 Drives. I've done training internally with how to sell storage with some of our sales staff. Ceph is awesome. Ceph is amazing. It's really cool. I like the way it works. I love the resiliency, redundancy, the expandability, but this is where things get complicated. And even 45 Drives, their minimum recommended for a performant base, not full performance, but performant base to get started with Ceph, is 4 server minimum.
Yep.
The cost of setting up a Ceph server to get the same level of performance that you will get out of the same ZFS. I know you're getting more resiliency and some of the cool things that Ceph can do, but it is really much more expensive hardware wise to build out a performance Ceph system versus building out a performance ZFS. That's why we sell so much ZFS. Yeah. Even, what's really cool is me and Alan Jude did have a conversation on the last day we were there, because we were talking about that. Because he's aware of Ceph, he knows what it does, what it is, but he really got to see some of the, okay, that's why this is expensive type thing. We had kind of that discussion of, this is like, it's like when you first hear about Ceph, you're like, ZFS is dead any day now. But then when you really start to implement it, and once you realize Ceph is sync only, there's no concept like in ZFS, you can lie, you can turn off sync rights, where the system with NFS, for example, if you want it to be more performant, you turn off sync rights. And what it does is it lies to whatever NFS is connecting to it and say, oh no, I wrote the data to disk. Don't worry, it's here, it's written. It's not
certainly not sitting in my 0.5 terabyte of memory. Nope, it's on disk. Don't worry about it. I got it.
It's completely safe. So that's obviously a risky way to do it. The solve for that problem is to have the ZIL drive, which will allow the much faster transactions to happen. But in Ceph, that's not an option. Ceph only does sync writes, and that's fine. That's great for data integrity. Yeah. But if your sync writes include erasure coding spread across 4 systems, let's just say it has to sync 4 systems before it gives you the sync. Therefore, there's a slowing down of that, but there's a speeding up of it too. It's called buy 100 gig links between all of your Ceph servers. And now you start seeing where the problem comes in. And you're like, oh, we can get incredible 5 million IOPS out of Ceph as long as we have 6 of these Tornadoes, F16, all NVMe with 100 gig backplanes and everything else. Like, you can absolutely build it, and 45 Drives is more than happy to sell you all the hardware to build it.
Yeah. It's this. I got asked during my talk, are you a Mac guy, a Windows guy? What are you? And I answer this question all the time. I'm a tools guy. I'm a whatever tool is the right tool for the job. And when it comes to ZFS versus Ceph, they're 2 very different tools for 2 very different jobs. I use ZFS, and probably most people will use ZFS because you get pretty decent performance, pretty decent resiliency, but also if you're speccing out like a 2-node Proxmox server, that's going to be like a high availability double system. All you have to do is buy 2 of them, and then maybe have storage on another box that's enough to store your backups. That gives you a 3-2-1, and you're good. Ceph, you start with triplicate.
Yes.
And really you should go 4 deep. And each of those 4 nodes needs probably at least 4 disks to get like a modicum of performance out of the entire system. And so, whereas on ZFS, you could put a pair of NVMe and a pair of NVMe and maybe like, 4 spinners on it, and you've got all the capacity you need. If you want that kind of performance on Ceph, you need 4 servers with 4 NVMe disks and then all the backup drives. Ceph is very much about your data is secure. We got your data. It is on disk. And not only is it on this disk, it's on 3 other disks.
Right.
You're good. ZFS plays a little faster and loose, but at the same time, it's still pretty darn secure and pretty darn performant. And so,
yeah,
and it's 1/3 the cost.
Exactly. Because when you build Ceph, you set up your erasure coding because you want your replications. You're like, I have 4 servers. I need this replicated in parity. Because the easiest way to describe Ceph is obviously each box has several drives in it, as many as you need. They refer to them as OSDs, but then you spread that across multiple boxes. So the commit is to make sure that there's enough data resiliency across the boxes replicated. That way you can lose any one of them. So the boxes are like the building blocks of a RAID array. So you can have a RAID array. Now, this gives you really good read performance. It's a write performance that kind of suffers because you getting that writes spread across all the systems. There's lots of guides on stuff. 45 Drives has a series of tutorials and deployment guides on it to give you an idea of just how to set it up properly. It's definitely, it's a little bit more intense, but it's also I like it. It's almost magic because being able to have a single storage space where one mount, one share, and be able to dynamically add and remove blocks of storage, and that block of storage can be an entire system. You can actually migrate a system in. So if you want to do a Ceph upgrade, you have like 5 old servers. You can add servers 6, 7, and 8, or faster servers, and then slowly remove the old original 1 through 5 servers and have it redo this without taking the network down. So the users are like, suddenly things are faster for some magical reason. Thank you, IT people in the back. You've sprinkled magic on this file problem we have.
Yeah, it's more expensive.
One of the bigger ones they manage, I think they told me they're managing 36 petabytes of data. Obviously, you don't want to replace a 36 petabyte of data server. And this is obviously servers. And it's the ship, the
ship of oh gosh,
Theseus.
Theseus.
Yeah. Correct us in the comments if we're wrong. I feel like it's not Theseus, but Theseus sounds right. It is Theseus.
Yeah, ship of Theseus. Yeah.
Yeah. You're slowly replacing it, so all the data is still there. And it's kind of neat talking like how they built this client out to maintain, I should say, 36 petabytes of continuous data.
Yeah.
All the servers have been replaced over time, but the data's still there. They just keep bringing in new Ceph boxes, replacing them on a life cycle of the old one. That's a neat feature to me.
Yeah. How many nodes can you replace until it's an entirely new cluster?
Yeah. That is a feature of and kind of you can do that now with ZFX expansion and things like that. You can slowly rebuild your ZFS array because this has been a feature for a while. If you have 10 drives and they're all 8 terabyte and later you move to 16 terabyte drives, once you've done the last one, ZFS has the ability, and it's had this for a while, to expand to
fill the pool, right?
Fill the pool, which is super cool. I haven't used. You said LinStore, but I'm assuming you probably mean like LinBit. Isn't that support? I believe that's supported in Proxmox. Do you know?
LinStore is supported in Proxmox, not on a native integration level. There are packages that you can add to it. Actually, I think it was LTT that actually did a video on that maybe about a month ago. Oh no, that was during their breaking the Digits of Pi world record. They were using LinStore on the back end with Proxmox. Yeah, so go check out their world record for Pi digits if you want to kind of see. LinStore is a more performant version of ZFS, or a more performant implementation. It has some major advantages. It also has the same disadvantages as you'd look at like a Ceph cluster. Like it's adding some Ceph features without going full Ceph.
Yeah, because the people from LinBit were there and they gave a presentation.
Hope you like 9 nodes at a minimum, by the way.
yeah. It's interesting. I mean, it's a very workable solution, but there's like anything, there's trade-offs and complexity for it. There's a lot of interesting thoughts I have on this. Does a hard drive go bad if you don't use it for a long time? I would say, and this was a discussion that did come up, where people talk about, well, we sent 2 drives to Iron Mountain to be kept in a perfectly stored condition. But will those spinners spin up? If the bearings sit too long, will they seize? Possibly. Yeah. It's kind of hard to say.
It's going to be a manufacturer by manufacturer and even a batch by batch question. In general, they shouldn't. Most of what causes mechanical failures in most things that we deal with day to day is oxidization, and most hard drives have been helium filled for a very long time. And so modern drives, probably not. There's probably not much of a risk there. Older drives, definitely, if they're still primarily nitrogen or oxygen filled, then yes. But gosh, we've been doing helium filled since 17, almost is kind of like standard with the number of platters and the density that we have on them anymore. Yeah,
it's kind of interesting. There's just so many changes, and with the hammer drives that are coming out from Seagate to increase the density, where they use a laser to heat up the elements before they write the drives. You know, spinning Rust is going to be around for a while. Now, the other thing that I don't know how long they last, but there is obviously, especially when you get to the QLC type drives, you're talking about the NVMe or solid state type of storage drives, there is a fade that they could have if they're not refreshed over time. Honestly, if you really want your data to be accessible at a future date, keep it moving. Keep it on a live system. I have been migrating data. Matter of fact, I have a few things that I'm probably going to transfer. I have some old DVDs that I don't know. It's archival data that I had it because it was from a long time ago. And I'm like, I kind of want to move it now that I have so much storage all to being live, just to have it. I don't know if I'll ever need it. I have emails going back from 1998 and they're on DVD. I archived them at one point because I didn't have storage. Now I have lots of storage and I'm hoping those DVDs are readable. I have no reason to have those emails. There's nothing I think of. They haven't been on a live storage system since circa 2012. So probably I don't need them, but in case I do, I do like to keep all my data moving and across many systems because that's how I trust it.
Yeah. Archival is weird.
Yeah, archive is weird. I feel like anymore, I'm too worried about it because we've learned that some of these DVDs fail over time. Even the commercially made ones.
Yeah,
there was that
disk rot is very much a thing that affects a lot of media from the early to mid 2000s. We've seen this with a number of CDs and DVDs, and even Blu-rays have experienced bit rot and disk rot. So,
yeah. I just did a recent video on Docker because I don't run everything in TrueNAS. So yeah, using a TrueNAS or even a Unifi NAS as your backend storage and for a bunch of Docker containers that you have running on a separate machine, that's pretty normal. You're getting closer to how most businesses are designed. They usually have separate compute, separate storage. That's a more common enterprise design. You don't see as much in a Homelab because people being more budget oriented going, can I do everything on one box? Yeah, with some trade-offs and some complexity.
Yeah, I've switched back and forth multiple times through the years of virtualizing TrueNAS on my Proxmox server and then doing a standalone TrueNAS and then remigrating it over and doing a full all-in-one box. And right now I have separate boxes for everything, but I'm actually looking at reintegrating here before too long. I've got a couple AMD Genoa processors that are just kind of sitting there. And I'm like, why would I run a full, 200, 300 watt TrueNAS server with all the drives when I could give it 8 cores and all the memory in the world and still have 48 cores left over of AMD Genoa? Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yep. I'm too lazy to go grab it, but I don't have working one. Well, I don't know if they work. I don't know. They're ID. Did you ever use those Bigfoot drives?
Remind me.
So they were 5 1/4, like the full 5 1/4 bay hard drives.
Yeah, they were the hot swap chunky boys.
Well, they weren't a hot swap. They were just huge chunky boys. And they were, what the problem was at the time, we could only get so much density.
Hold on.
And 3.5-inch hard drives were king at the time. But there's a storage density limitation. So they came up with Quantum is the one who made them.
Okay. Yeah, I have seen these. Okay.
Yeah. They were really unique. And I happened to work in the computer industry at the time, building computers for people. And they were cool. The downside is you had the density, you had the storage, but now you're moving ahead 5.5-inch platter, not 3.5-inch platter. So the large platter side meant the seek times were ridiculous. Sequential data, like videos, they were awesome because the earliest days of video editors, this was a really affordable, like you could stream video on it. People who needed random seek, I'm sorry. You're about to have a really bad time. The seek times are something like 4 times. They weren't you would think a few more inches wouldn't change it that much, but yeah, it turned into incredibly long seek times. It was like a giant floppy disk.
The strange thing is talking about digits of pi is the area of a circle is a quadratic expansion because pi is 3.14. So it's pi r squared for the area of a circle. You're multiplying 3.4 times the distance every 1 unit you go out.
Yes. So physics plays a role.
Yes. Science.
I have 2 quantum drives. One's in one's just sitting. I have some old stuff, random things that, yeah.
I don't have any Bigfoots. I do have a fireball around here somewhere.
Oh, the fireballs are cool too.
Yeah.
The other one is, Jeff will get the kick out of this. It's in the other rooms I'm not using right now. You know how you got the balance with the weight that you put on for the boom when you have
your
like
counterweight
for the microphone. I'm losing the name of what that's called.
Yeah,
but it's the boom rig for the microphone. The counterbalance on it is in a bag. The bag didn't, like, they give you the bag to put something in it when I bought it.
Yeah.
So I stuck a quantum Bigfoots in it. So because they're really heavy. So, they're,
Tom, most people use like lead shot or
yeah, exactly. I think that's what they were supposed to use, but I stuck quantum Bigfoots because I had them. So
that's great.
They were laying around, so I was like, this is like the most nerdy thing I can do. And you don't know until you open it up. And I remember one of the employees was, when we were moving stuff between from the very first studio I built to the next studio I built, they're like, what are these weird 5 1/4 hard drives? Because one of my employees had never seen one of these before.
Yeah.
It was like, I know that's IDE because I see the 40 pin, but why is it so stinking big?
Yep. Fun fact, Compaq actually used Bigfoots for a while in a lot of their OEM desktops. And that's actually the first time I ever saw one. Was I was ripping apart a Pentium 2 desktop that someone had given me. And I'm like, what is this disk? What is this thing above the CD-ROM drive? Like there was the floppy drive down low, and then there was the 5 1/4 CD-ROM on top. And then above that was the Bigfoot.
Yeah. Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've had this before, haven't you?
Oh, yes.
I love this. This is for anyone wondering what I'm drinking. It seems like topical thing.
Yeah.
So I seen Jeff's. What do you got, Jeff?
I'm having an old fashioned with the blackened whiskey. That is the wine barrel aged, port barrel aged finished whiskey. Really, really fantastic. I am a huge fan of this.
Yeah. Good old fashioned. Me and Jeff had a good time at the
speakeasy.
Yeah. It was just a cool, the vibe there was like,
next time we're in the Bay Area together, I need you to come to the Bay Area for any reason, because I need to take you to my favorite cocktail bar in the world, and that is 55 South in San Jose. I need you to meet my bartender. His name's Scotty. We will have a good time. So
absolutely.
Schedule the night, call an Uber. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, man. I will also mention, because this is on my desk. Well, one of my trinkets I have, because I just stare at it for no particular reason. This is a Connor. Do you remember Connor hard drives?
I do. Yes.
Long before, I believe Seagate bought them.
Something like that.
Seagate or Western Digital. But I like that they called it the Cumulus.
Yeah.
Okay. Thinking about the cloud even back then.
Yep.
And it's of course got another cloud reference. We have Cirrus Logic chips.
Cirrus Logic chips. Yes.
Yeah. Cirrus Logic made the controllers for these. And just kind of now. It's funny thinking about that. I mean, Cirrus Logic was a big name in their early days of tech. So was Connor, the Cumulus drives. And I don't think we ever used the word cloud in the 90s when these things came out. Like that was never.
like 2002 or so, we got like Cumulus Systems came out, and then there were a couple like cloud-based names that came out in like the early 2000s. I seem to remember Cumulus Systems being one that came out.
There was like these cloud name companies, but we didn't call server. They were just servers,
right?
So they were just wasn't really referenced that way. Yeah. Speaking of that, kind of a pivot here. I watched. Have you ever watched the Serial Port? It's a YouTube channel.
Doesn't ring a bell. No.
They cover computer history, and they do a wonderful job of presenting it. Very detailed. So there's 2 channels that are, in my opinion, the best at doing this. It's Retro Bytes is one of them. British guy, deep dives on history, on all kinds of stuff. Really good technical details. And the Serial Port, which does full-on interviews with people who developed some of the earliest technologies. One of my favorite videos they did was They interviewed the people who invented NAT, and before Cisco bought the PIX firewall. Like these are the people that built the PIX system, and they go through, they'll interview the people, they put it together in a very compelling way. It's not just a long interview, it's a whole lot of like interview with this person, details in between. But the one they just released that I caught up on was the history of IRC, and boy, there's a lot I missed on detail on that. That was really cool.
Yeah. Sorry, I literally just got a text. I had lunch with a former colleague of mine. You might know him on my server as Josh, my network guy. But I had a beer with him this afternoon, and we were just talking shop, talking things. And he texted me from a client of his that said, "Well, I think we are finally going to migrate over to Gmail this year. And eliminate our GroupWise servers."
Ooh, GroupWise. That's still somewhere living?
Novell NetWare GroupWise. Yes. That was when him and I started at our respective organization. That was one of the larger projects that we had to take over. Was something like a 300 gigabyte 900 user GroupWise install. We had to migrate all of them over to Gmail, over to a Gmail or a Google domain. The way we had to do that was we had to because we also wanted to keep all the old emails because it was for a government organization, and so they had a 7-year retention policy that they had to follow. And so what we ended up doing was installing Outlook onto a set of machines, and then installing the GroupWise authentication agent for Outlook, and then logging into each user's email account on the GroupWise server and downloading that into Outlook as a PST. We could then export that PST up into an Exchange server and then sync that to Google. And so it was a fully manual process of moving like these 900 users up to the cloud to maintain all of their email. There was no migration path.
I remember building all those type of things too in the early days, getting things with the Outlook sync tool moved over. Because the bane of my existence was Small Business Server 2003. So that thing was a disaster. But we had so many people using it.
Yeah, we did a lot of 2003, a lot of 2008.
Yeah, migrations are a lot different. I can't remember the tool we use for it now, but it's way easier. You just line up a bunch of accounts, figure out where they are and where they're going, and sprinkle some magic on, wait for it all to get done. We still charge per mailbox to make it all happen, but it's so much different than it's way less manual labor.
Yeah. The only thing that could be worse is if they were still using Lotus Notes. I didn't ask about that.
Yeah. Well, and I seen someone, and you don't have to answer this, but I seen someone said, "Was it at a school?"
I'm not going to answer it, but I will answer intuitively and just say 50-50.
I was like, someone has worked in a school district before.
Josh and I did a lot of contracting with government organizations, and we did a lot of schools. So
yeah. It's one of those things like that should be like a guessing game. If I told you the technology was in this company, could you guess the company or the industry that it's in more specifically?
I bet I could narrow in pretty quick. Like, if we're going to play 20 questions, I think I could do it in 5.
Yep. Oh yeah. I do like this. The serial channel has a second channel called the parallel port. This is true. And it's great.
That's amazing. I'm going to have
look it up. It's really a good watch. It's very engaging, well put together content. These guys came kind of out of nowhere. Like, they don't have a channel. When they started, some of their videos blew up, but there was one of those things that you see on YouTube that always makes YouTubers like me and Jeff scratch your head. Let's see, they got 3,000 subscribers. That's cool. Oh, they've got 7 million views on the video they released last week.
Yeah.
You're just like,
all right, I have subscribed to both. Cool.
Yeah. They had some really high view videos, and
Parallel Port has a video on the Game Shark for the 64. I'm in.
Yes.
I'm sold.
It's been a great it's been fun to watch a lot of their stuff. So it's
Yeah.
if anyone's looking for a channel to subscribe to that you want to go history tech, which I was upset. Our friend Veronica Explains was there. I seen her post some pictures, but it's the VCF Midwest, which is the Vintage Computer Festival. I love going to that. I was unable to make it because it absolutely landed coincidentally with the 45 Drives Creator Summit.
Yep.
Womp, womp, womp.
Yep.
I did choose the 45 Drives Creator Summit. If I had a magic wand, I would have moved 45 Drives Creator Summit, but I did not have a magic wand that I could just change the date that they had booked for all the people to come.
Right. Dead Mouse's calendar was already full. Yeah.
Yeah. Says, I don't, have you been to a Vintage Computer Festival, Jeff?
I have not. I have a number of friends who have attended, and in fact, I have a friend who is trying to get one started here in the Northwest. He has been in contact with not only VCF but also the it was the Paul Allen Museum, where Paul Allen had all of his old vintage stuff. He had a full museum built in downtown Seattle. And after he passed away a number of years ago, that went into a trust. And so the VCF and a number of people are like trying to get that into a thing that can actually be like put on public display and out and about. So if that happens up here in the Northwest, I will definitely be a part of it. And
that's great.
But yeah, no, I've wanted to go to VC Midwest for a while. There's also one in California. As soon as I'm able, yes, I will be making it to not one, but multiples of those.
Yeah,
so.
It is. And there's the one in England too. So
yeah.
I forget the name of the one there, but I remember watching someone's video on it. The VCF Midwest is driving distance for me, which I live in the Midwest, Detroit area.
Yeah.
So driving distance.
Isn't that in like Cincinnati or where's it at?
It's actually in Chicago. So
Chicago. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's not bad. Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, Chicago is a 4-hour drive depending on traffic. So that's completely doable.
You Midwesterners with your cities that are within driving distance, like
yes,
like Portland to Seattle, it's about 3.5 hours.
Okay.
Our next major city is San Francisco, and that's 10.
Yeah,
and there's nothing else.
10's a bit much.
Yeah.
I've done 10-hour drives plenty of times, but that means I'm in Tennessee by then.
Beginning of August, I actually did that drive down to San Francisco from Portland. We drove down there. I took my family on vacation for a number of days. We stayed at a little resort and had a good trip. But man, that was a long drive, and especially a long drive back because we did the drive down there in like 3 sections. Like we stopped, we had lunch, we stopped again, we had dinner. And that was fine. The way back, it was going to be like, all right, we're going to leave at like 1 p.m. And we're also going to drive. We drove up 101, the Pacific Coast Highway, and we drove through the Redwoods. And it was supposed to be, I drive through the Redwoods, I get us to the Redwoods, and then someone else takes over to drive. Well, the drive took way longer than expected. We were traveling with 3 kids, and it just, you stop every 100 miles. It's just what it is. And so instead of getting to the Redwoods at like 5 o'clock, we didn't get to the Redwoods till like 8:30 or 9 o'clock. And then a couple of the kids were not all that happy to be in the car anymore. And so my wife and my sister were also traveling with us. And so they're like taking care of them and everything else. So I'm like, oh, I'll just keep driving. No problem. And then I'm like, all right, someone needs to take over about 10 o'clock though, because like I'm going to fall asleep. And then I look over at 9:30 and everyone is just gone. Just and I'm like, I guess I'll just keep driving. And from that point, home was still like 4.5 hours. And so we got home at like 2:30 in the morning. And I remember stopping at like every side station that I could find, like, well, another 5-hour energy. Let's go.
Yep. I do that. And I'll do either I run in circles for a minute, like I get my heart rate up and everything else. I've had to do those drives where I got to get through this 12-hour day.
Yeah. Yeah. The drive home was a marathon.
We, we tag teamed it, me and a friend. I don't know why we did this because we were young and stupid and we could do things like this. We tag teamed the drive from Detroit to Florida nonstop, which is 20 something hours in the car. I don't remember exactly. It was the longest. We're just like, bro, we're going to do this. And for some reason we did it. I don't think there was a real requirement to do this other than, bro, let's do this. That's when you're young and like 20 years old. That seems like a logical thing.
I've done San Diego to Portland in a single sitting. And so I've done the, 1,400 mile jaunt in one sitting, probably pretty close to what yours was. And so, I could do that when I was 23.
I just don't have the interest. Like, I'm probably going camping this weekend, and partly because I'm lazy too. And by the way, Michigan's a wonderful place, if you didn't know, to go camping, because the density of population of Michigan is all in one area by where I live now. You only have to go roughly 150 miles away to be in a very desolate, like, you can see stars, there's no light pollution, awesome areas. So I won't have to drive but maybe 2 hours.
No, you and I were talking, and the funny thing about the West Coast is we're very sparsely populated. There's a lot of land, but there's not many people. Like, we still have our major cities. But the joke is that, like, you have Los Angeles, you have Orange County, and then you have this little dot below it of San Diego. And then once you get north of Orange County, you have nothing until you hit the Bay Area and or Sacramento. And there's just nothing there. And then you get north of that and you have to go another 600 miles before you hit Portland. The thing is, in Oregon, and Oregon to Seattle, is you have I-5, and I-5 is the main corridor, and we live in what's called the Willamette Valley. Everyone lives within 5 miles of that. 85% of Oregon's population lives in a 90-mile stretch that's 5 miles long. Or 5 miles wide. We have a county in Southern Oregon that is like 8 times the size of Rhode Island that has 8,000 people in it. And that has a congressional representative. But 8,000 people get their own representative.
I don't think I'd ever go this far, but I do remember that story of the astronaut that put the diapers on and like did the cross country trip. Like, that was from forever ago.
Cannonball. Yeah.
Yes, Cannonball Run. I'm just not going to stop. Yeah. I have a friend that does that when he drives up here. He lives down south and he keeps just the piss bottle in his car. He's like, I ain't stopping. I'm like, I'm sorry. I will stop. Like, I feel like I don't feel like trying to do this while I'm driving.
It's not a challenge.
Time.
Right. So what's funny is I actually, because Google Maps still records your trips wherever you go, and it's gotten pretty good at like identifying stops and things like that. I take this back to like the anti-electric vehicle crowd, because I recently got an EV. I got a Chevy Bolt, has a 240 mile range, has about 180 mile range, 80 to 20. And so, you can get, basically 3 hours of highway driving in before you have to stop for 30 to 40 minutes to charge up. And then you can do another 180. A lot of people go, that's ridiculous. I can go 600 in my car. And when I do, it's 10 minutes at a gas station. I'm going again. Number one, no, you're not, because your body is a thing that occasionally has to leak liquid.
Yes.
And if you're traveling with anyone else, theirs does too, and it doesn't work at the same frequency that yours does. Number two, if you ever get off the road, yes, you'll be 10 minutes at the gas station, but it's 25 minutes to get off the highway, find the gas station, park, pay the attendant, pump your gas, go in, get snacks, go to the bathroom, come back out, do this, do that. 25, 30 minutes. Like, that's your minimum stop. I don't care who you are. That's what it is. I looked at my route that we took there and back on my San Francisco trip. We averaged 110 miles in one sitting with a 20-minute break in between. We did it's like, I could do that in my Bolt in the same amount of time. And yes, I understand. I took kids on the trip. I have a family of 6 that we basically took down there. But we did about 2 hours at a time. and then took a 20-minute break. You know what I can do in an electric vehicle? 3 hours at a time and a 20-minute break.
Yeah, it just works out.
Yeah.
Because I've road tripped in my electric vehicle, and it's not been a problem at all. Those stops are kind of welcome when I'm driving that far.
Yeah.
I went and did the mountains in my EV. Fun fact, if you do mountains in EV, if you take the EV, it took 20% of the battery to get from the bottom of a mountain to top of mountain. Then we got 10% of it back.
Yes.
Coming back down the mountain. I thought that was actually fascinating. It doesn't hurt the brakes at all because we didn't need to use them. It regened all the way down. And it was just kind of a fun trip. I was just shocked that I got 10% back. That's actually more efficient than I expected.
Yeah.
But it was fascinating watching the car charge itself coming out of a mountain. This is a long, windy drive because we were in the Smoky Mountains, and it was great. But yeah. To go back to tech for a moment here, random question. Since you talk Unifi, do you know if stacking is on a roadmap? No, I don't think so. I don't think Unifi looks at stacking as something they need to do. It's just because of the way everything is integrated with them. They do have MC lag, which is a new feature on their ECS aggregation switches, which they're a little buggy still and getting better. I'm just going to be straight up honest about them. But I don't think stacking is actually on there. MC lag is a feature, but exclusive to those switches. I don't know when, but eventually they probably will come out with more switches that do have that type of feature. Honestly, I feel that switches have become, let's just expand it, electronics in general compared to the days of this old hard drive with the Cirrus Logic chips and these really big resistor packs and things like that are on here, way more reliable. So I get, and don't get me wrong, resiliency, redundancy, all that stuff is wonderful, but I don't feel switches fail as often, or just electronics in general. So I worry about it a lot less. Almost all the switches we pull out, including Unifi, but especially Cisco, are replaced for obsolescence, not failure. I mean, I'm not saying failure is zero. It's, but it's not much above zero.
Right. Yeah. And when you get into those enterprise level features, and I'm looking specifically at like Unifi here, and Unifi has identified the market very, very well on where they want to be. They have identified that prosumer to small, medium business edge switch with some aggregation.
Yep.
Would I buy a Unifi switch if I had a layer 3 BGP full failover? But no, that's not who I'm looking at. I'm going to run some other hardware at that level. But for an edge PoE switch that simply needs to sling layer 2 and maybe a couple layer 3 links around, they're fantastic. And if they ever got into that full enterprise stack, that full enterprise feature set, that is a mountain to climb when it comes to reliability, speed, versatility, etc. that a lot of other switch companies are very, very good at. Your Arubas, your Ciscos, your Palo Altos, your etc. And kind of like we talked at the very beginning of this episode, like I wish companies understood that's not my lane a little bit more often. I wish companies understood someone else already does that extremely well. Go buy that thing for that one feature, because we're going to do this 80% that we know is our niche, and we're going to do it extraordinarily well. And that's kind of, I think, the thing that Unifi fills.
Yeah. And the criticisms of Unifi are valid. There's definitely some problems with it.
Definitely.
Me, Wendell, I think you were there when we were sitting at the table talking about this, where we said it's not that Unifi is that good. It's just all the other solutions are that bad. It's like there's so much room for improvement on any of these. So criticisms are there, but the market and the ecosystem right now is not great. Unifi just goes, hey, why don't we offer things without a subscription, without cloud lock-in, and let's see if that works. And next thing you know, they're worth, their market cap is like $30 billion right now. And it's crazy how big a company can get just by going, why don't we give people what they want? They don't have to be perfect. But when I look at these other companies that are trying to play in the same space, they're like, oh, we're going to do this and cloud lock-in and blah, blah, blah. And selling, don't sell direct. We must sell to resellers because value-added resellers is how it's always been done. No, VARs do not add much value. They add cost, and they add impediment to you just buying the thing you want from someone. I remember, and I don't remember exactly the whole premise of the book, but it was something that management brought up. I feel like when I worked in corporate all the way back in 2003, it was about the .com era, and someone wrote a book called The World is Flat, and the business world is now flat, I think is what it was titled. And it was a play on the world is flat kind of concept, but it was that suddenly the internet enabled direct purchase from manufacturer to person who wants thing. And Unifi fulfilled that. And it's amazing because all these other companies are trying to stick resellers in between. And you're like, I just want a stinking Wi-Fi and a switch that works in my house. Unifi is like, we got one of those and we'll sell it from our factory to you, good sir, who would like our Unifi system. And these other companies, and I'll bring up Alta Labs because I've talked to them a few times. They think first they told me when I met them, we're gonna compete with Unifi. We're gonna beat them at their own game and blah, blah, blah. I was like, cool, exciting, great. Then I started talking to them like, oh no, we're not doing direct sales. Okay. What are you doing instead? We want a reseller program. Fair. Okay. I get it. You want to have a group of people who can sell it and you don't want to sell direct. Next step is we're going to have a controller that you can self-host. Took them a long time to get there. And they don't give it away for free. And you're thinking, why would you not give it away for free? Well, their answer, and I was just like staring at them in a meeting that I had, because by the way, I'm not under NDA with them. I wouldn't sign one, so I can tell you guys these things. So I stared at them. They're like, we think if we didn't charge for it, people wouldn't value it. I stared at them and I said, did you know Unifi gives theirs away for free? Now, someone in the crowd chuckled. The CEO did not. I thought it was funny. It was like, Unifi gives away for free.
You could hear the one engineer in the back going, told you.
I told you. Yeah. Just like, why would you want to charge for this? It only works with your hardware. It doesn't have other features. It's not like this full-fledged system that does fancy things and manages hardware. No, it only manages the hardware. And that's the part I don't understand. Like, to compete with Unifi, the bare minimum right now is give me a free controller that manages the devices and give me some direct sales at a reasonable price.
Yep.
It's not rocket appliance to compete with Unifi. Their business plan is pretty simple. The fact that no company wants to do it scratches my head. They're like, but don't people want subscriptions and lock-ins?
Yeah.
No, that's why Unifi has become popular.
Most shareholders want that. And honestly, why wouldn't you want recurring revenue on your hardware only company? That's why we have the automotive industry trying to do, pay for your heated seat subscription and your sign on to OnStar, not to keep wrapping this back into car talk. But a lot of the world marketplace that has traditionally been like hardware sellers, about the last 7 or so years have really started going towards subscription models, and even like standalone software. You look at Adobe, they did away with proprietary, or perpetual licensing and said, no, give us $60 a month. And there's some industries that makes a lot of sense for. And then there's other industries where you look at, just sell me the damn hardware and let me run it. Yeah.
And it's, Lee Iacocca, back to the car reference here. You know what I mean? Providing a customer what they want. Whoa. That's way too much innovation for us. Customers said they want this, but I can't make as much margin unless I sell them something completely different. So let me spend time engineering something different, spending a lot of time doing it only to make customer angry, to eventually, when someone eats my lunch, by making something people want.
Yep.
Yeah. People ask me about GrandStream, and the first thing I noticed about GrandStream is I'm not a reseller, so I don't know what their pricing is. They're not clear on how some of their stuff, and maybe their documentation has gotten better, but I looked at it, I was like, I was a little confused about how it works. Like, Unifi's taking a lot of time, and once again, criticism's welcome. They're not perfect, but at least I understand where I stand. They put out a statement. I talked to Unifi. I suggested they do this many times. I'm so happy to see them doing this. They have a statement of how they work. They said, we are edge first and cloud enabled. That's part of the statement they put out. They have a whole lot of more words around it, but the too long didn't read the whole blah, blah, blahs of corporate speak. Is we are edge first, cloud enabled, but not cloud required, is what they have in the nuance, the details there. You can set up Unifi to this day and not have it attached to your cloud, and it still works. You can locally host it. You can, matter of fact, they do come with, and I know someone complained about this, telemetry on by default, but Unifi is one of the few companies I can name that has a little checkbox. You can turn it off. It is on by default, but you can turn it off. Cool. People asked for it. They decided to give people the ability to turn off telemetry. People don't figured out ways to block it before, which cool, but now you don't have to. You can just check a box and feel free to validate. It does turn off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't understand. I guess greed just takes over at certain levels with these companies where they're not as altruistic, but the CEO of, and I think as long as he is the CEO, Unifi will still continue to do what they do. Good news is he's young. I am under zero impression, and I have talked to him, that he wants to sell or anything like that. He seems to be focused on the vision of Unifi. He's not, I mean, he's doing quite well. Don't worry about him for money wise. He's okay. So, but I don't foresee him turning anything into subscription. He seems, and every talk he's given and every statement he's made and everything about the company, I don't like subscriptions. We're the anti-subscription. We're the anti-lock-in. We're the anti-proprietary company. We want to continue with direct sales. Fantastic. Thank you for being that person, because clearly there's not enough of these people. Someone said Meraki went downhill in recent months. I've opened more tickets with them. Weird issues. Ended up being firmware problems. Had replaced the hardware like 3 times. We use at CWR a decent amount of Meraki. I haven't seen a lot of them, but I also admit I don't pay attention all the time to anything Meraki that goes on at CNWR. Full disclosure.
Yeah.
If you see anyone from CNWR watching, they're just nodding their head in agreement. Yeah, Tom doesn't. If the topic's Meraki, Tom's not posting in the Slack channel about it.
Yeah. I'll just say no comment on Meraki.
Yeah. We can dunk on him. I'm fine with that. I don't.
Okay, cool.
I have no problem. I have no love for Meraki at all.
Cool.
I don't care for him. Matter of fact, so when we merged with CNWR, they used a lot of Meraki and very little Unifi. We use all Unifi. Well, not all Unifi. We use a lot of Unifi and a few other random brands. And we still are doing. A lead came in the other day about migrating an entire school again off Meraki. We did some big projects that I've covered. One of them was a school district, and it was an easy pitch because I think I have a partial video on this. I've reached out to school. I can't use their name yet. I've asked. The IT person wants me to use their name because we did an entire district. The whole project was roughly $350,000, but they thought, well, no, the IT person really had to go to bat for us with the school district because all the bids, by the way, if you didn't know this, when you do school bids, they get unsealed after the bids are won.
Yes, they do.
We won the bid at $300,000. All the other bids, all of them were within 50,000 of each other, and all of them were floating around.
I'm going to say 950. Yeah.
Well, they were actually floating around 500. So they were almost $200,000 more with us. But every one of them bid Meraki. I think there might have been an Aruba in there, but the majority of them were Meraki. And it's just the licensing fees from Meraki are that much more expensive. And the school district, we did this a couple of years ago. School district is like, still works fine.
Yep. My last experience with Meraki, and mind you, this is probably 2016, so probably quite a while ago, is we got called in and we bid Unifi for a project, and but they wanted us to also bring in some other competing bids. They were contracting with us to do it regardless, and so we said we can do it in-house with this, or we can contact some other people and we can bid Meraki, we can bid Aruba and things like that. And I said, okay, cool. So we brought in Meraki, and I remember submitting the final bid. And the thing that stuck out to me, and the thing that I've told every other client since, is the price for licensing the controller of the Meraki bid is more than our entire Unifi bid.
Yep.
The price to license this per year to use the Meraki hardware that you will buy and you will own and will turn off next July 1st if you do not pay the license fee. That license fee is more than the entire body of work of us installing Unifi once.
Yep. It is crazy what the price difference is. So I had to convince a CIO of they're not publicly traded. They're a privately held oil company, but they happen to be based in Michigan, and we're having a great conversation with them. And the way we sold them on Unifi was kind of funny. They were really hard line on this whole Meraki thing. And one of the reasons Meraki offers, next day replacement, Unifi doesn't have anything like that. So it's just not something I see us using. And I said, for the price difference, you can buy a spare they had like 7 or 8 locations that they needed spares at. I'm like, you can buy a spare for every location because there's no license, and it still costs not less than Meraki. There was just pause because the other technicians were arguing with their CISO guy, the C-suite guy, because the C-suite guy I don't know why he liked Meraki. He was just an old school Cisco guy. Cisco bought Meraki, so Meraki made him happy because it was owned by Cisco. But we eventually got them switched over because they kind of looked at it and go, he's kind of right. And you can just buy a spare for less than, even buying the extra spares, still put the bid to switch everything over to Unifi less than what the Meraki costs were.
Yeah.
Oh, I will say this for any of the large corporate companies, the parties are great. I mean, that money goes to
they got a lot of licensing money. That's what I'll give them.
So definitely, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and by the way, I have certainly attended parties for companies I don't like because I'll buy, if they're buying me drinks and dinner,
right?
I'm like, I have been bought dinner by companies that I didn't really care for, but I like fancy places sometimes. I don't like it often, but I've gone to a couple places where the dinner was about $150 they bought me. And I didn't pay for it, so I was like, this is a good steak.
Yep. No, I've done that.
Yeah,
for sure.
We need a whole show of stories, war stories. Yes. The longer you work in tech, the grayer your hair gets working in tech till you become a full-on gray beard.
Yeah.
Jeff's got a few years, or maybe he doesn't go gray. I don't know how that works.
It's sprinkling in there ever so slightly. Yeah. The nice thing is I haven't been working day to day in IT administration for the last 5 years. And so I think I subdued what was there. Yeah.
You're preserving a little bit of it. So
right.
Oh man.
Because you're a couple years older than me, but you're not that much older than me.
No, I'm only 49, so I'm not too old. I only got a few years on you. But by the way, when you look at it, I've only been really pushing YouTube. I built my first studio. Well, I had a couple of videos, but not really a studio. I had a couple of videos before then because I decided YouTube was a thing I registered in 2015. I didn't really start making but a couple scattering of videos until 2017. That's when I decided to put full time in.
Yeah.
Even in 2017, look at those old videos, sort by old. You're like, Tom was not near as gray only a few years ago. I'm like, yup. So YouTube has aged me, I think.
Yeah.
I don't.
No, I guarantee I'm going to wake up at about 44 years old and it's just going to go pop one day.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
will say both of my grandfathers on my mother's side had full heads of hair into their 90s. And so, I'm not going to lose it. So I'm not worried about that.
I remember seeing this picture of my dad's dad. It was funny because he's standing there with this little kid and I'm looking at him like, why, who's that grandpa staying with? My dad's like, that's me. I'm like, how old is grandpa there? And he's like, I don't know, 29. My grandpa had lost all of his hair and had a wrinkly face. And I'm just like, wow. And like, he looked old then. So I've already looked way younger than my grandfather. And my other grandfather on my mom's side, full head of hair at 80 when he passed, 83 or 84. So hopefully I got those genetics. It's not received. This is the same place it's been forever.
You got a pretty good forehead. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. It's all right here. I've had the same, like I keep my hair in a ponytail sometimes or as long hair. I have not changed my haircut since I was 16. So
yeah.
I just decided this is the thing I'm doing and I've stuck with it.
Yeah.
I'm simple, but that's life. Going down a YouTube rabbit hole. There was a question that comes up a lot. and it comes up on Reddit all the time.
Uh-huh.
And they show pictures of celebrities from the 60s or 70s and just generally people from them. And it was like, why do they look so much older than people today?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
someone has a science video. It's really good about why people look older in those videos. And it turns out there's a lot of factors. First, food has become better now.
I would say democratization of nutritious food is like
Is
the
a-
number one answer.
That's a factor. But it actually was the second reason was that the first reason why people look so much older is chain smoking was common. And for those of you who don't know, and there's plenty of examples of twins, one smoked and one didn't, and you will see a dramatic different look in them. People who smoke, it ages you quite a bit. And smoking wasn't just prevalent, it was like what we would consider chain smoking was just smoking then.
It was socially required.
Yeah, everyone had a cigarette. Look at any 50s or 60s type of painting or artwork, and it's a style from them where everyone just kind of had a cigarette in their hand. And you think about even the cartoons of the day, the Flintstones, etc. Everyone had a cigarette, and that was a big factor. Life was harder. There was a lot of other things that come into the two ones. So though, where you kind of nailed it was the nutrition. People didn't think about exercising. Gyms weren't a thing. There was like these factors, and it was a good science video. I cannot remember the name of it. It was a YouTuber I hadn't heard of before, but it was a good video with a lot of views. So if you type in, why do people look older now? Or why
this sounds like a Hank Green video. Hold on.
It was not Hank Green. Or if it was the Greens, I would have known them because I love Hank Green and John Green. So
it's Vsauce. Yeah. Okay. I was close. I was
okay,
really
so he covered
close.
it. Okay, yeah, it was
Vsauce.
Vsauce. It was one of the big okay. Yeah, it was a good science video.
19 million views. Yeah, he did it 3 years ago. Yeah.
Yep. So I don't always watch all the Vsauce videos, but occasionally one comes up because clickbait for me. Why did people from this era look older?
Yeah.
Oh, I wonder why. What changed? We're full of plastic. Our era is different. They're gonna have different things that they talk about us in 50 years.
Yeah, I figured it was someone like in that modicum science thing. So like a Kyle Hill or a Hank Green.
I love Kyle Hill.
Yeah, like I knew it was going to be someone like that. I'm like, oh, of course it's Vsauce. Okay.
Yep. Fun worry story. The school district that we did the project for, where we swapped everything over to Unifi.
Yeah.
That's one of those ones that I don't know how to make a video about this of not sounding kind of like a dick, but I was kind of mad about this whole thing.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of spanning tree problems and a lot of issues going on when we were setting it up. And it turned out that the person, gotta remember, school district, many buildings, remotely managed. We're here in Michigan. They are a flight away. This is not a close project. We flew a team out to do this over a week to help them swap things. And for reasons I can't explain, they were messing with while we were installing. And my techs first couldn't figure out what was going wrong and why they were having so many problems. It turns out I asked the most obvious question I could ask. I said, did you create accounts for the IT team at the school? Yes. Have they logged into them? I don't know. Why'd you create them before we were finished? Well, they asked. I said, log in, because they couldn't figure out how things kept moving around in Unifi and getting switched. Turns out they'd all logged in and they were doing things while we were installing. So anything we were tuning, they were untuning.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And then an entire area went down. And we finished one of the locations, moved to next location, but the location we finished was a core location. So we were moving upstream of that location. Then the core went down. So IT person who hired us is, man, Tom, you are, kind of being snarky with me. I thought your team was better than this. We have all these outages and blah, 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 blah. So I get on the phone with team who's out there because I'm like, you're right. The site is completely down. This is terrible. We have them drive back to the other site, only about 3 or 4 miles away. They get there and immediately on the phone with me to let me know, the IT guys have decided to replace the UPS. So there's no power at this place. I go, that's interesting. Call back the C-suite people at this large school district going, did you know you guys have guys on site who pulled the power and disconnected all the stuff we set up? There's a pause. They didn't tell me they were doing that. I said, well, I said, that's why your site's down, is your guys pulled the power after we installed it. So that's why we can't configure the next upstream site right now that we're trying to do, because
Makes it
apparently
kind of
we
hard
don't
to
have.
continue to do our job.
Yeah, I was a little bit of a dick because I said, apparently you don't know what your technicians are doing at any given moment. And then when we found out they had logged in and changed settings, I just revoked their login. I said, I revoked your tech's login. Why? I said, because they're logging and doing stuff. Well, they weren't told to do that. I said, I know. My tech said, followed your request to create it and give them that. So the project, I sent them a bill they never paid. So I sent them a bill for overages, and
this
they
also tracks. This also tracks.
I said and they said we did the if you've ever done E-rate or Bear,
Yes.
those are yes.
I used to contract to do E-rate procurements for a number of school districts. Yes.
Yeah.
God, thank you for that refresher into hell.
Refresher in pain for anyone that's ever dealt with E-rate
God.
and Bear and all the paperwork. We used to do that stuff.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, once you've bid it and you've won it, it's hard to get an overage paid. And so I sent it to be me, and not that my goal was not to be a dick. My goal was really just just shut up, guys. Leave me alone. This is the bill I'm adding on for pain you've caused me.
Right.
Of any problem I had to troubleshoot was actually caused by your team doing things. So those are fun war stories.
Yeah.
Change control is the thing for a reason. Yes.
Yeah. Chain of control, especially during an install, especially if it's a contractor. Like, let your contractors do their jobs. Like that is such a valuable lesson to teach any internal IT team, is if you're bringing in someone to do a job, let them finish.
Yeah. We had 6 days. I got a team out there. We have 6 days. I knew how long it took them to get things. I left room for margin of error that in case my team made an error, not if your team sabotaged me. Right. Someone says IT was sabotaging you. Yes, they were naive. They were not. I was not too angry because they were not. This was not on purpose. This was just ineptitude, right? Which is just a different level of aggravation.
Yeah. I will say, one of my first professional gigs, I was hired by a small organization, and I was doing like field tech work. And I got sent to a random customer site that had an Apple Xserve unit. It was a G4 or G5 powered 1U server. They had 3 hard drives in the front, and they were configured in a RAID 5. And if you think back then, it's like 250 gig, Gen 1 SATA hard drive. And they had 3 of them in a RAID 5. And they sent me out there because one of the drives had failed. And one of the first things that I did, I think this was my second day on the job, is I pulled the wrong drive. So my company got to send all 3 drives to a hard drive recovery company to get all their data back. Because back in the days of hardware RAID,
it was way harder.
There's no coming back from that.
No coming back from that. So I'm one of my tech friends.
It was like 2004. I think I did that.
Yeah. One of my tech, this is just an odd story, but I was told this today because I had to stare at him a second because this is strange. I'm not going to out him, but I will tell the story because he worked for an MSP, and I know him through some of the motorcycle stuff. So I was at motorcycle and bike night, and he's like, the question I didn't ask him, and I know he watched some of the live streams, so maybe he's watching. Hi, if you are, because he looks at me, he's like, so he is an MSP, one of the clients that he had to go fix something at. I don't know what the something was, but they're a auditory. I don't know what's the doctor name called when you're an ear doctor. ENT is like ear, nose, throat, but they're specifically ear. We'll call him ear doctor for me.
Audiologist.
Audiologist. There's the word he used. Yeah. Perfect. Well, he's sitting there working on the computer, and they shine a light in his ear. They're like, "Oh, we can fix this while you're here." And he's like, "Fix what?" And they're like, "Your ear." And he's like, "My ear's fine." And they're like, "No, we can clean it." And he's like, "You sure? Like, I'm going to fix your computers here. That's what you're paying me. I'm not paying you for this," is what he told him. Right. And they're like, "Oh, just sit in this chair over here." And he goes, they proceed to sit down and just shine a light in my ear and then start cleaning my ears and cleaning stuff out. At first I'm like, do you not clean your ears? I don't know. I was like, I want to ask that question, but it seemed odd. But he's like, he goes, it was also just a weird experience. I just kind of sat back in a chair for the next little while they cleaned my ears for me. I'm just like, that's weird, dude. Like, I don't think I've had a client quite like come at me like that.
Yeah.
That seems kind of strange.
Yeah.
But we see a lot of strange things as technicians when we go places.
Yes, because we tend to work in like all facets of modern society, and we slip in and out of every business, like restaurants, doctors' offices, veterinarian clinics, real estate offices. I've worked in all of these in some capacity, and yeah, there's some weird stories out there.
Yeah,
Weird
definitely some strange things that have happened. I do have, and you can find it on my channel, I call it my worst cabling project ever. We had the project that we at Lawrence Systems, by far in my 22 years of existence, have never had a project that was this disastrous. I had to make a video about it because I had all the evidence and photos. And Brett, working for me at the time, was a sales guy. Me and him tag teamed that video together because it was just a level of waste and ridiculousness that was documented at every turn. The only saving grace was the fact that I am not afraid to ask for money. And every time they made an egregiously crazy statement, I simply said yes, as long as you pay me, and would give them that amount. Yeah. That project ended up costing them like $25,000 extra, and they paid every penny of it because the absurdity was insane. So that video is a fun one. It is on my channel, and there is a side joke, and I can't remember if it's in there or not, but the impression I think was left there. If you're wondering, because this was a family fun center with an indoor go-kart track, and due to OSHA rules, and I don't know statute of limitations, there may or may not have been a race with scissor lifts on a go-kart track.
Oh God.
between the cable installers and the electricians. I'm just saying the potential was there for this. I can't say whether or not
some circumstances existed.
Yeah. Circumstances existed. There are a series of scissor lifts on a go-kart track in the photos. I'll let you draw your own conclusion. I do know not to film crime.
Yes.
Or violations.
Yeah.
Because they can definitely be used against you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Plausible deniability in those circumstances is more valuable than anything you'll ever have.
Yeah. I do have a fun older video where my wife had never been on a scissor lift before, and she thought she would stop by the job site I was at, because it's really close to our house. We're actually building. I have more than one family fun center we built infrastructure for.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And we went to the scissor lift, and what's funny is I learned in Michigan, you don't have to have straps on. I knew I didn't have to. Yeah. And so I was like, yeah, we don't have to wear these things. But apparently a lot of other states you do. So there were a lot of
Oregon, you have to have double straps. You have to Yeah,
you don't in Michigan. Yeah. You do for a boom lift, but not for a scissor lift. So yeah, I definitely took my wife for a scary ride, and she screamed a few times on the scissor lift because it was funny. Because when she gets up, she's like, ah.
Yep.
If you haven't been on a scissor lift, it's fun. Now, if you've been on a boom lift, that's really fun. And definitely you should be strapped in on a boom lift because those things sway a lot. Yeah. I was able to, I put the sales guy on one because he'd never been on one. That was fun. He doesn't like heights, which if you tell me such things, we're going up higher. Which we actually had to go out there and test some fiber on New Year's Eve. And I had one of my favorite social media moments. I said, I've never been this high on New Year's Eve. And we took a picture from the top of this giant boom lift where we were fixing fiber. And it was all I said, I've never been this high on New Year's Eve. End of story. People were like, it was fun. Yes.
Yep.
Where's the video of Tom hacking the battery controller for firmware scissor update? We didn't do anything like that. But one of the things you learn if you work in construction long enough is the keys are the same. Turns out Sunbelt Rentals, really popular rental company, they were the people you use, and the keys are the same on lots of the devices. So if someone's in your way or someone uses your lift or you need batteries, you can just borrow the other person's lift. You take the keys out of yours, put it in theirs. Turns out it works.
Yep. Yeah, there's 3 or 4 really common wafer keys that are the starter keys for a lot of those devices.
Yep.
And a lot of them are like you can go start a ditch witch and then pull the key out and then go start the scissor lift and then drive the scissor lift where it needs to go and then go start the backhoe and drive the backhoe over, and it's the same key over and over and over again.
Yep.
And you'll find this on a lot of fleet vehicles and a lot of rental fleets. Ford was probably one of the biggest ones of this with, is it the 1255 Ford key?
The old school one.
The
Yeah.
old Crown Vic key with the
Yep.
rectangular head on it. Yeah. I think it was the 1255. Basically, if you see an old school police cruiser, either a Crown Vic or a Grand Marquis or something like that, chances are not only are the door locks and the ignition a 1255, so is the shotgun lock in the back seat.
Yep. If you haven't followed him, his channel,
DB Noloff. Yeah.
Deviant Dolem is awesome. I've met him a couple times. He said he'd do a video with me. My challenge is I don't know if it's a fit for my channel. Like I thought about it. I was like, hey, would you like to do a video and come on my channel? He said, absolutely. We're at a conference together, not a hacking conference. He was keynoting at an event I was at. And then he was at another event I was at and had a great conversation with him. But I didn't do the video because I don't know that it is I know a lot of people like him. I don't know if it's 100% fit for my audience, but definitely follow him. And if you just want some fun stories, check out the same titled Deviant Darknet Diaries episode, which is an interview with him. It is absolutely some of the funniest pen testing. Like there's a couple stories in the beginning that lead up to the bigger story that Darknet Diaries has. The pen testing they do is hysterical because they cannot. So they have like I'm not going to spoil the details, but essentially, high level C-level executives hire pen test at super secure facility. No matter what Deviant and his team do, they seem to be unable. At first they break in, success. Yeah. But then they are unable to get the attention of the people that are supposed to be guarding things. So they keep ramping things up to the point where they left the site and came back with power tools to create attention, to try to get someone to stop them from what they're doing.
To stand by the server room going,
they drill the door. Well, it escalated to door drilling to where someone says, they're drilling the door. I guess they need to do that.
Right. Yeah.
It is definitely among my favorite Darknet Diaries. Actually, Darknet Diaries has a few groupings, and any of the ones that are physical pen testing are always fun to listen to. I love
pen test videos. One of my favorites is a talk that I think it was at DEF CON years and years ago by Johnny Long. And he did an entire talk on what's called low-tech hacking or no-tech hacking.
Yeah.
And so, he does an entire talk about we're often concerned with like getting access to buildings. That means breaking into, the card swipes or the request to exit doors or things like that. He goes, what can you do just by looking at something and gathering the information and basically like old school OSP? Yeah. And what can you tell me about this place and whatnot? And the answers that he came up with are absolutely wild. And the things that you can do, the old school reference of you can go anywhere you want if you look important and carry a clipboard, is, you can look important, carry a clipboard, walk in just about anywhere, and you print up a badge that says Verizon on it, and you're like, yeah, we're here to check the routers. Can you open the door for me? And they're like, well, why are you here? Freaking Mike, he was supposed to call ahead. That son of a, he never gives it. Look, I'm here. I just need to do this like one little thing and then I'm gone. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. Because people want to help you and you look somewhat official and now you look irritated and this is just your job and I understand. Cool, let me let you into this building. And they open the door and he's like, suckers.
Yep. Clipboard or ladder. Walk around with those things. You'll get anywhere. Jason E. Street is great speaker on this. He became famous and he also has a Darknet diary episode. It's called I believe it's called the Beirut Job. He accidentally robbed the wrong bank. It's one of my favorite stories he's ever told. It's such a fun story because I've met Jason Street several times. I got a video with him, personal one, because
Mhm.
he's just a nice guy to talk to. I see him. I go to GurCon, which is a Michigan hacking conference. I'll be there in 2 weeks. Jason Street always shows up at GurCon. He's fun to hang out with and great to talk to. But he did accidentally rob the wrong bank because he just read the sign wrong. And went, there's 2 banks across the way from each other.
Right next door. Yep.
He went to the wrong one and he succeeded. His answer is he's going to do USB testing. I'm the USB tester. I need to test your USB ports. So yeah, fun to watch. Good rabbit hole to go down. Certainly, J Street is also a really good storyteller. So his stories are not just very true; they're also compelling because he's got a great way he engages. He's very personable on it. So I highly recommend watching him. But I'll answer this question really quick. So we're going to wind this down. I said I was going to go for an hour. We've gone for an hour and 49 minutes.
This doesn't bode well if we do podcasting together, because my show's 2 hours and we usually go 2.5. So you and I are just going to talk forever.
Yeah, I'm fine. We have a lot to talk about here.
All right.
I don't know if you've used RustDesk. I have. I
have not. No.
RustDesk works. RustDesk is a Rust, as its name implies.
I could have guessed.
Rust re-implementation of TeamViewer. It works way more like TeamViewer than it does like several other support systems. I like it. I haven't had any issues with it. And there's one really big issue I have with it. Did you know Singapore is not in China?
Yes.
It turns out a lot of the internet people who make comments on your YouTube video don't know that. Tom, did you know they're based in China? They're based in Singapore. Exactly. And I'm like, wait, no. Do you have access to YouTube, but do you have access to Google? I've asked that question a lot.
Yeah.
It's like, there's a lot of people upset because they keep telling me they're a company based in China. No, they're based in Singapore.
Right.
But it's open source. It has not gone through extensive code review, so I can't speak to its full-on security. They seem to have done things rather well. If you lock it down like I do, I only use it within my private network. Overall, besides it not having high levels of security vetting, it seems to be a pretty good product. But I will comment on something that happened last year. So Screen Connect has gone through security audits, numerous ones. Screen Connect is owned by ConnectWise. ConnectWise is worth about $5.6 billion. They're not a small company, and they've been around a while. So is Screen Connect. I actually know the developer of Screen Connect. Last year was a really interesting thing. Despite all the pen testing and all the application code reviews that Screen Connect has gone through, turns out since version 1 that came out in 2013, and Huntress has the most beautiful write-up on this because they got to name it. They called it the slash and grab. It turns out if you go to the Screen Connect install all the way up to the updated version released last year. So from version 1.0 that got released all the way till an update they had last year. If you added at the end of Screen Connect where you can log in or anything, this is publicly available URL because of the way Screen Connect works to get people remotely. You add a slash and some gibberish, you can get to the installer, and then you can reinitialize the installer, which asks you the question, would you like to set your username and password? Yes.
Yeah.
And you could take over an entire, if you had 1,000 remote connections in there, you would then own all 1,000 of those connections. The slash and grab was amazing. No one thought to put a slash and some random gibberish in all the pen testing that had been done for like since 2013 until 2024, 11 years of testing. No one thought to try that combination of characters.
Wow.
And my favorite part of the backstory of this, as the lore goes, and I don't have it, I know enough people inside. This is the inside story I've heard, and I believe this is true. They get an email from a security researcher who wants no bug bounty, wants nothing but be anonymous, and says, "Yo, I found a problem. Y'all should fix this." And dipped, like anonymously sent this. Like, did you know if you had a slash, you can get to the installer and take over an account? That's all they did. Now the next problem is when they patched it, they knew everyone would find out about it. So it was a really awkward situation and everything else. So even though companies can go through high levels of vetting, there can be flaws in them. It's kind of my long story here that I told. But I would like to see RustTest go through this, but they're an open source project, and a reasonably good application test is about $100,000 for someone who's really good at it to do this. So it's hard for open source companies to raise that level of funding. The people that run it seem transparent and seem it's open source, like you can poke at it. No one's found any flaws in it. So I don't see any problem really using it. That's my long answer to it. I love it for all the internal stuff because I did a video on it because I started using it. And I said, this is actually pretty nice. All I'm doing is it's not publicly accessible for me. I'm remote controlling a bunch of my local computers with it. That are all Windows, and it just works. So
Nice.
I don't think it's a terrible product. It's free, it's open source, it runs in Docker, it's stupidly easy to set up, and it looks like TeamViewer. It gives you a rotating number, you punch the number in, or you can use it to have persistent access to a desktop.
Nice. Very cool.
Hopefully that is enough of an answer. Tom is actually, I woke up today at 3:30 a.m. because for reasons unknown to me, I decided I couldn't sleep. Well, my brain decided I couldn't sleep. There's a part of me that's like the not in control part. So
yeah, I popped awake about 5 in the morning, which is about 2 hours early for me. Usually I'm up at about 7.
Oh, hey, you're live.
There's another Jeff.
There's another Jeff.
Hi, other Jeff.
Hi, other Jeff. We're getting ready to wind this down, but it is a wild Jeff Geerling has appeared. That's awesome. We did discuss earlier, Jeff Geerling, if you're still watching, that there may be a group of us. If anyone's wondering if there's any level of communication between the Jeffs and the Tom and numerous other, the Wendell and all the other people that are, I would say, kind of in the niche category of we like creating technical content for the social internet. There is definitely a group of us, and we definitely talk. We have discussions.
So we're going to do a full review of that fanless system. Not sure if that was discussed. The system that was made, that was shown at 45 Drives, it's part of a new line called 45 Studio, and it's a fanless meant for audio and video production environments, fully solid state, completely fanless. The one that was made for the presentation was like a 1 of 4, but they're ready to ramp up production. It is a fully made in-house cooling package. They bend the copper tubing heat pipes there in-house and assemble those. But basically they're ready to take orders as far as I know and start assembling. And hopefully before too long, we'll get some review units because I am definitely hyped on the potential for a fully solid state unit. Yeah,
it's a new skills 45 Drives had to learn of bending, using heat pipes. And the good news is, like, Doug, the CEO, has a doctorate degree in, is it material science?
I don't think it was material science. It was just something related to that.
Yeah. So they have, nonetheless, there is a bunch of behind the scenes of 45 Drives, not just the people you see on YouTube talking about Ceph, ZFS, etc.
Very smart people.
Very smart people. They do some really, really cool engineering work on the back end. Back to something else that I see Jeff Geerling said. I did read this comment, was on the live stream, and because Deadmau5, by the way, did you notice that Deadmau5 picked up and moved the camera a couple times? He became the cameraman.
Yeah.
And also, but to really put a point on Jeff Geerling's comment here, this happened in the live stream. Someone said, imagine having one of the best audio guys around that understands all this and having terrible audio. And I was like, yeah.
It's one of those things where 45 Drives did everything in house, and I think the first live stream went off without a hitch.
Yes.
They had planned a demo for the second one, and I just don't know if they thought about camera and microphone placement
no.
in between segments.
I love 45 Drives, but I'm just going to be honest. We're just going to say no.
Yeah, they just
Deadmau5 was moving the camera and pointing it in different places.
Yeah,
which I love that he just got up and did that.
Right. Well, it was really funny because he got up about 2 seconds. Like I had put my hands on my armrest and I was getting ready to stand up because Chris is over here panicking because he's on the mixer going, "Oh God, they moved somewhere we didn't expect them to move."
Yes.
And I literally like did one of these, and I see Deadmau5 stand up and just go grab the tripod and like, because I got it. He's handing the camera. And
Deadmau5 is like, I'm sitting here. I guess I'm a cameraman now.
I know what to do.
I know how this stuff works.
It's great.
Yeah, it made me. I had such a big smile on my face watching him do that. I'm like, this is kind of fun because he's not someone who sits still. He
No.
was itching to do something when they were talking. I and I've you know I know how intense he is, and
Yeah.
he's super intense. He is very focused on. He wants to get the thing done. He's got to get done,
Right.
and he's sitting there very antsy. So
But
when there was
they
an
were doing the
opportunity-
demo, and he's sitting in the front row, and he's got his arm up on the chair, and he's doing this,
yeah.
and he's just sitting there like twitching his hand, like, okay, I've seen it. Can I do it now? Can I come? Can I do something now?
Yeah, let's just say he's clocked a little higher than a normal human being. So the clock rate has been turned up on Dead Mouse.
Yeah, but he was super cool to sit down and talk to. The bunch of us got, what was it, about 20 minutes or so to like just hang out and talk about a bunch of random things. He asked 45 Drives, what's the max capacity that you could put into this server? And right now it's about 70 terabytes. And they said, but that's because we're using a SATA controller. And they said, we're still experimenting with an NVMe and how to make all that work. And I piped up, well, if you go NVMe, Kioxia just came out with a 245 terabyte drive. So technically we could put almost two petabytes in here. And he kind of perked up a little bit.
Yeah, he was interested in that.
And he goes, how much is that? And I said, oh, it's about this much for the drives. And I said, as soon as they make one, I'd be more than happy to get you in contact. He goes, we should talk. So there might be a Craft Computing 2 petabyte flash server, 45 drives, Dead Mouse thing coming up in the future. I don't know.
I like what he first said. He's like, say that number again. That was
Yeah.
the first thing he said. Did you say terabyte?
Yeah, 245 terabyte?
and then lots of profanity and something along the lines. They make them that big.
Right.
He says, where have I been? The question is, was the 45 Drive stream recorded? Yeah, it was a live stream on their channel. So if you go to the 45 Drive channel, you can find the live stream of it.
Yep.
It was fun. Once he got asked a nerd question, so to speak, and he went deep dive on his stuff. Yes, it was really cool.
Yep. No, he was a lot of fun. So.
It was interesting for sure. The whole 45 Drive creator event, I just truly enjoyed it. I have some B-roll to put together. I think Wendell does as well. Probably you do. Just a recap of it. This 45 Drives, the fact that they want to engage the community at the way they do makes me really happy. I just really love them as a company for that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this is the third creator event I've been. First one in Wilmington. Their new Wilmington office was pretty great. City itself was pretty great. Really good food all around. And like we said, bunch of really smart people over there, really passionate, engaged. Hashtag not sponsored. I've never received $1 from them. They've paid for a couple of flights and a couple of meals of mine. But it's not like I get paid to go over there and promote their stuff, but I genuinely enjoy working with them. So
yeah, it's nice to see companies that get it. And Doug, their CEO, definitely a guy who gets it. Yeah.
And Yearling, who got stuck with me last year on the 24-hour delay, or was that 2 years ago? I think we got delayed. Going 2 years ago. Yeah. It's nice they have a US location now and we're not getting stuck due to inclement weather. Although I did make the joke that they have a certain inclination to pick cities with tiny airports. At least this one has 9 gates and not just 2.
Yes. There's at least 9 gates at the Wilmington airport. The Wilmington airport wasn't bad. I thought it was funny because I have the TSA pre. And do you have that?
Yes, no? I do. Yeah.
Did they give you the yellow card?
I didn't get a yellow. No, I didn't get that.
If you follow, I did it with TSA pre. It's the same line. You just get a yellow card that says you do not have to take your shoes because you're TSA pre. That's all it said. But no one was taking their shoes off. So
no, we had a separate line when I went through there.
Okay.
And so basically it was like the normal zigzag, and then there was a TSA pre, and it was just a beeline to the front. But when I went through, it was super early in the morning. There were 2 people in the regular line and 1 person in the TSA pre-check line.
Yeah. So. Yes. Yes, that is a Beerinator. You can find the Beerinator on Jeff's channel. He has reviewed it. Yes, that is exactly what you are correctly seeing behind you what there is. All right, we've hit the 2-hour mark. And Jeff has hit the I'm done watching Mark 2. So the other Jeff has. we will talk to other Jeff in our Discord group, and
Yes.
I'm reachable at lawrencesystems.com and wherever good podcasts and YouTube videos are sold. So,
you can find
Jeff
me
is
at
reachable at.
Yeah, you can find me at Craft Computing on basically any socials. I usually hang out in the YouTubes and the Blue Skies. So
yeah, you can find Jeff on the Discord. He's got a Discord channel if you're a Patreon member and all that fun stuff. So
patreon.com/Craft Computing.
See, there you go. Easy to find me and Jeff and the other Jeff. Go subscribe to all those things, all the Jeffs. I'm going to wind it down here because it is hit 11 o'clock, which puts me at about 20 hours of awake time. And I'm not tired exactly yet, but I should be soon. And I'm going to watch some YouTube. Maybe I'll watch some Serial Port. I'll see if there's anything I haven't seen, but watch that IRC one. And we mentioned it earlier, man. It's a good video. If you haven't heard of the Serial Port or their other channel, the Parallel Port, because of course,
this is a new YouTube hole for me to dive down. I'm kind of excited.
And it's a great YouTube hole. They do good history videos on technology. And I do love a good technology history video. Cause I was there, but I don't remember all of it. Cause you're only in the parts you're in, or you were only part of the things you were part of. So I was an IRC participant, but not to the level of all of it. I didn't know the whole history of IRC, and it turned out to be really fascinating. So I learned so much. All right, man, we're going to bounce out of here, man. Thanks for joining us, and see you next week. And I'm going to be there'll be schedules. Check out Craft Computer channel. I will be joining that one and maybe drinking something different.
Yes. Yeah. We're going to get Tom on my live stream every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific time. He's going to be become a regular co-host over there. So if you like the two of us together, you can see what happens when I steer the ship. So
yep. We'll let Jeff will set the agenda. Tom will just go along for the ride and go from there. All right. Thanks everyone. Take care.
Cheers, everyone.